Hey, this is Steve Cornelius, Somerset Commonwealth Journal Sports Department. This is Doug. He's with me. And Doug, we need to pick a all-county football team. And when you look at great teams, the first suspect you look at is the quarterbacks. And
right.
we got some good ones.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, when you look at what Zach Easom did this year at Pulaski County, this is a kid that went into the North Laurel game in the season opener. He split out wide as a wide receiver. And then he is forced to go in and play quarterback in week 2 in the second quarter when Chris Muse suffered what we later found out to be a season-ending knee injury. And when you look at some of the numbers Zach Easton did this year, completed 66% of his passes, 2,195 yards, 24 touchdowns through the air. He rushed for 915 yards and led Pulaski to the first ever regional championship. I mean, it's hard for me not to say.
And he was supposed to be a backup quarterback.
Yeah, he's a backup quarterback and winds up being honorable mention All-State. So it's hard for me to not give Zach a lot of recognition as far as being in the running for Player of the Year.
You know, then a half mile down the road, you got Eric Manning, sort of the same situation, and never played quarterback other than maybe in middle school and stuff. He gets thrown in there. He takes a team undefeated to the state championship. Almost similar numbers. I mean, he threw for 2,372 yards, 28 touchdowns, 554 rushing, 7 touchdowns rushing. I mean, crazy stats for both of them. So it'd be hard not to keep one of these guys out.
Yeah, it really was. Both of these guys proved they were winners, could lead their football team. And when you talk about Zach Easom, you know, the numbers are impressive, Steve. But when you think about all the games Pulaski had that came down to the final seconds, you know, when they needed a touchdown to win a game. The game at Rockcastle County, which is one of the wildest games I've seen in the last 15 years, when he threw that 40-yard bomb to Alex Abner with 11 seconds to go. When he took him the length of the field almost against East Jessamine in week 3 to keep Pulaski from falling to 0-3, which I still say and maintain was the turning point of the season for the Maroons. Had they gone 0-3 by losing to the East Jessamine in the Don Marshall Bowl, who knows what would have happened. But Zach Easom took them down the field 80 yards for the game-winning score, and his season really took off after that game.
Okay, let's go to Eric Manning. His first 2 games as a varsity quarterback, goes to Knox Central, beats him from behind, and then comes and plays Pulaski in the Ray Burrell Bowl, which obviously Pulaski was going to maybe been a favorite in that game, and beats him in the last second. So, you know, you started that season like that. I mean, how can you go wrong from there?
I know. I mean, the Manning kid's tough as nails. He's a great baseball player, and he proved this year that he's a great team leader as well.
What about some other guys?
Well, you know, I know Alex Abner had a lot of injuries this year, but that just goes to show you how tough a kid Alex Abner is. I mean, this is a kid that basically played with a separated shoulder or a near separated shoulder throughout the playoffs. And, I mean, when you look at some of the numbers that Alex had, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, and he's the big gun in that Pulaski County backfield. And I think based on his production, he was able to take a lot of pressure off Easom, being in the sense that this was Zach's really first year being under center. And, you know, when Alex Abner at 80%, a lot of teams would take him because he's better than 90% of the guys out there at 100%.
And then the state semifinals he played.
Yeah. He played quarterback because Zach got hurt early in that game, and I think he had a touchdown against Highlands in that game. So Alex, he played quarterback against Marion County for the biggest majority of that game. And, of course, he was a quarterback in what they call the Wildcat offense that's so popular now in the NFL. But Alex Abner, in my opinion, going into the 2010 football season, should be in the class of the Commonwealth because I think he's one of the top 50 players in the senior class.
Then you've got a sophomore who just came into the scene, Storm Wilson, and just like the Storm, that's where he came in. He received for over 1,000 yards, had 11 touchdowns, and just recently he was named as second-team All-State, and he was really a big part of the jumper success. He had those sticky hands. He sort of reminds you of John Cole. He just didn't drop balls that much.
Right. I love Storm Wilson. I mean, he's a class kid. He's a great athlete. And when you look at what he did last year as a freshman for Coach Phil Grundy on the baseball team as a catcher, I mean, he's in charge of that pitching staff. And he looked, at times to me, he looked like Johnny Bench. I mean, he was that much in control of those senior pitchers. You know, Scott Spears calling games for him. I mean, and to see the kind of numbers that Storm put up this year with over 1,000 yards receiving as just a sophomore, great athlete. And he's got a very, very bright future. He's got a tough decision to make probably in a couple of years. Is he going to do baseball or is he going to do football?
And one kid sort of got lost in all the shuffle of the state finals and everything was Taylor Moat from Southwestern. I mean, he was just a hard-nosed running back, rushed for over 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns, and then he punted after every series. If he didn't make the first down for him, he had to punt the ball. So he had 30 punts, 30.9 average, had 9 punts inside the 20-yard line. So he did a lot for Southwestern. And a senior who'll be gone this year and everything, but he did a great job for him.
And I think one thing that people tend to forget about Taylor Moe, opposing defenses knew that number 11 is going to get the ball. There was no secrets. He was going to carry the ball 30, 35 times a game, and he just took a beating this year. And to his credit, he got back up. And, for him to be the marked guy in that Southwestern offensive backfield and to continue to put up the kind of numbers that he did, even when defensive coordinators knew and were telling their guys, number 11's the guy going to get the ball, just makes his numbers even that more impressive to me.
Even to make our decision even tougher, it's easy to look at offensive players. But then on the other end of the ball, we've got a lot of great defensive players that are probably in the running for Play of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, I'll start out that discussion with number 44 in the maroon and white, Tyler Stone. This kid.
Who was not even supposed to play this year.
Yeah, when you consider, a lot of people don't realize Tyler was riding a dirt bike in February and was the victim of a hit-and-run accident where whoever hit him left him for dead. He wasn't even supposed to play this year. And I remember Tyler telling me about a month before the season, he said, Doug, I may miss the North Laurel game. He said, I'll give him that. But he said, the only way Coach Hines will keep me from playing against Somerset is he will have to shoot me. And when you look at the numbers Tyler had, 99 solo tackles, 57 assists, 12 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. And he went down this year. I know Coach Hines did a very classy thing. He called a timeout when Tyler broke the record. Tyler Stone is the all-time leading tackler in PC football history, which tells me he's the greatest defensive player to ever play there. And some of the hits that he had this year, I know, just to show you how important Tyler Stone was to Pulaski, in the South Laurel game in London, he got hurt on the third or fourth play of the game, didn't come back till the third quarter. South Laurel ran all over PC in the first half. In the second half, they had one run over 10 yards. And it was because Tyler Stone was back in that middle, just a phenomenal football player.
And then for Southwestern, just recently, Rob Lewis was named AP All-State first team, played on that defensive offensive line. Don't have a lot of stats, but still, even on offensive lineman and defensive lineman, he had 44 solo tackles, 16 assists, 3 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. He really made a solid person inside that line for the Southwestern, which really helped him a lot as far as their defense.
And can you imagine Robbie?
And he's a sophomore too.
Yeah, Robbie's just a baby. He's a sophomore. Can you imagine how tough of a football player he would be if he had a mean streak in it? Because Robbie's always smiling.
Yeah.
He's just a gentle giant.
Great
He's
kid.
a jolly kid. He's a great kid. If Robbie had a mean streak, that'd be scary because he is a heck of a football player. And he's somebody that I think, barring injury, is going to be playing on Saturdays 3 years down the road at a major college program.
Teammate Zach Fowler, another linebacker who just, he had amazing. He had 9 sacks, over 100 tackles, 4 pass breakups, 2 fumble recoveries. He just did everything for Southwestern. And now I hear he's going to probably be a fullback. He's just that good of an athlete where he can do anything but great defensive player.
Yeah, Zach's a great athlete. Of course, he played basketball last year. He plays on the Southwestern baseball team. And when you put him and Nathan Kidd, another Southwestern player, along with Robbie Lewis, I can now see why Dale Anderson said his defensive front was the strength of that football team because they just had some hosses up there. And Zach made some plays every week to help his football team. And it's just because he's a great athlete. Double team him, didn't matter. He could still get in the backfield. And I think he'll come back next year and have a solid senior year.
Somebody didn't hear a lot about, but as far as the Somerset people, they said this guy was a beast. Sophomore Trey Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
He had 119 total tackles. Somerset had always sort of that been the weak spot of his defense, but he really made Somerset a solid defense. And you saw it in the state finals.
Yeah.
Duke and Tillman did not get a lot of offense against the Somerset Briar Jumpers.
No, they really didn't. And Trey is a great athlete. He's got a lot of mobility. But he's got speed. Speed kills. That's something that Robbie Lucas or any coach can't coach, and that's speed. And Trey's another guy that's a youngster here in town.
So we got a tough decision then.
Yeah, we got a real tough decision.